Welcome back to the Portal Bonanza podcast, brought to you by Hoop Scoop Media. I'm Austin Getchy, joined by Kyle Curran. Kyle, it's been a slow day in the portal, so how are we feeling today?
Um, yeah, again, just the Must thing is just overtaking the CBB world, man.
Yes.
So the portal's kind of fallen secondary to that, although now that that's all done, now the portal's back swirling again, where Cohen already flipped his commitment. Where's Keyshawn Hall gonna go?
Yeah.
The whole thing's cooking up again. So
Yeah, like you wonder, like guys like Hall that must was heavily recruiting at Arkansas, are they gonna like Trevon Spiller's another guy, or those
yeah,
guys gonna have the same interest in USC, or how's that changed things?
also,
But
like, there
yeah.
was a four-star um that he had must had committed going there Villanova. I think it was Elohim was
Oh
his
yeah,
name.
yes, yes.
Yeah, so you wonder if he's gonna follow him right
Yeah,
to
and I think he's like a
USC.
California guy. Like I think
Oh,
he's
so
let
that
me, let me check that. Let me just fact check
Villanova
that.
was in his top three as well,
Yeah,
so it
he's
was
from Sierra
interesting.
Canyon, so
Oh, that's right. Yeah, well,
that would be more of a logical fit in Arkansas for him. But
right, he's a
yeah,
lock.
big news of the day. Eric Musselman takes the head coaching job at USC. What will Arkansas go from here? Maybe Chris Beard, maybe someone else. But yeah, we will talk about all the portal moves of the day and rank our top few guys from the portal today. The few that there were, but there were still some very solid players, I think. Even the guys we had lower on the list, it's a good chance to feature some of those guys that could be impactful players, even at a mid-major level next year. I still think all the guys on my list are generally good players, just not the same caliber that it's been in the past few days, few weeks. But yeah, going into our commitments, first one we've already mentioned is Josh Cohen, who he was a must commit at Arkansas, committed last week, did not waste any time. He was very clearly committed to must, and that is how most recruits are. So no shocker there, but he did not waste time. He is officially committed to USC. And yeah, we talked about Cohen when he committed to Arkansas, and I don't think we really have though that much different opinions. Like he's a really skilled big man. Defense can be questionable at times. He's a big guy, solid rebounder. Anything else?
Yeah, just got to see how USC's roster fills out. I mean, they
Yes.
have a
And
lot of turnover,
they
and
have a
I
lot of
think
spots to fill.
I think maybe Bronny can stay, like we were talking about
We'll see.
earlier.
We'll see.
It should be interesting, especially
LeBron
if
and Muss would
you
be
know,
something.
if Elohim comes in. Obviously, they didn't play on the
Yeah.
same Sierra Canyon team, but
Did they? I mean, obviously you're part, but I don't know if they ever.
maybe
I don't know if he transferred all or they. I don't know. I don't know. I don't follow high school basketball close enough to know that.
they would have been a couple years apart. I think too.
Yeah, and those guys transfer schools all the time, so I don't
Hmm.
know if they played together, but they could have. Yeah, but Louisville transfer Brandon Huntley Hatfield has committed to NC State. This is elite recruiting by Kevin Keats. Got him on campus, got him on a visit, secured a commitment, and NC State plays in 2 days in the Final Four. Like, and
Heaven
this is a
freaking
good
Keats,
pickup.
man. What the hell? What has gotten into this man? Like,
He is
what?
unstoppable right now.
He,
He cannot do anything wrong.
he is turned from heel to face, man. He has just been. I've never seen like just a coaching turnaround this quickly. Like he was literally, I hated him. Like he was such a terrible coach for a long time. Then he's back on the hot seat again this year, and what do you know? He's back to being, high and mighty.
Yes. Extremely impressive to pull this commitment, but Huntley Hatfield himself, I think I don't know what I said there, but he gives him a really solid replacement to big man for DJ Burns, who will be exhausting his eligibility. Um, really efficient scorer this year, really good rebounder on both ends, solid rim protector.
We will
A
miss
lot
you,
to like
DJ
here.
Burns.
Yes, but I already got his replacement lined up.
That's
So
right.
Kevin Keats. David Thomas from Mercer, he is committed to DePaul. Chris Holman continues to fill out his roster slowly but surely after DePaul has had no guys left from last year, which is a very good thing considering what they were like.
Yeah, he's got a whole roster to fill it out, and he's not wasting any time, so that's good.
No, still waiting for that big piece. Hopefully, potentially, it'll be Boopy. But Thomas himself, very solid freshman this year at Mercer. Shot the ball pretty well, solid passer. Really was playing his best basketball at the end of the season, which is what you obviously want to see as a freshman. Really stepped into his own role. Had 27 points in the SoCon tournament against the Citadel. So yeah, he was playing some really good basketball. Mercer was playing good to end the year. He was a big reason for their surge there. And yeah, Mercer had some talent on the team. They've already had two guys commit to power conference schools with him and Jake Davis the other day to Illinois. So yeah, would you have any thoughts on this pickup?
No, it's just another body for DePaul. I think he'll have a decent role off the
Yeah,
bench probably. So
definitely someone who can play at that level. Joe Charles, Louisiana transfer, he has committed to McNeese. Will Wade, if he's even a coach here next year with how the rumblings of the Arkansas job could shake down.
sure,
Um,
don't
but
rule him out.
as of right now, he's not going anywhere, and Joe Charles is an excellent pickup for him. Really someone who I think could have played at the high major level, like at LSU or something if he desired to. But yes, this is a very good pickup. Kind of a wing forward, really good rebounder, really good defender, can stretch the floor. A lot to like about this pickup, especially at a school like McNeese. Will Wade, the NIL follows Will Wade around.
Thus, the NIL and Will Wade are synonymous.
Yes, he's one of the guys that brings his NIL wherever he goes. And then last transfer is Green Bay transfer Rich Beyer. He is committed to St. Thomas. He was a D2 All-American last season. Did not play great this year for Green Bay, but can shoot the ball pretty well for his size, and I think kind of fits St. Thomas's system with his shooting ability. Very skilled. Hopefully, he can see a bounce back year after being one of the best players in D2 last season. So yeah, we do have one cut list today, and that is Frankie Fidler. He cut his list to four schools, and those are Nebraska, Creighton, Wisconsin, and Michigan State. The first thing when I saw this list, my first takeaway was, why is Michigan State on
Yep,
here? It doesn't
same
really
here.
like, I don't think he's visited there. I don't know. I don't think they get him at all. Like I'm not quite sure why. I was surprised,
I
but
was
I don't.
too.
I think
They're
they're
the
also
outlier here.
yes.
I don't know how heavily they're pursuing him or anything
Yeah,
like
I don't
that.
know if they are. I mean, I don't know. Do you have a prediction?
Yeah, I think he's going Wisconsin.
Yeah, I would agree. I think it's definitely Wisconsin. He wants to play with Chucky Hepburn, teammates in high school, who is at Wisconsin. The only reason I could see him that not happening is if Chucky transfers, and if Chucky transferred, he would probably go to one of either Creighton or Nebraska.
Hmm.
So if that happened, I think Fiddler would go to wherever he goes. But despite all the portal rumors that Chucky has gotten over the past few years, he hasn't hopped in yet. So
Hmm.
yeah, they seem to be on pace to spend their last year of eligibility together at Wisconsin. But yeah, I think Fiddler should be a solid pickup. Very skilled. Interested to see how some areas of his game translate, but he was a very good player in the Summit League, which sometimes only goes so far. But yeah. So, are we ready to rank our top 10 transfers of day? This was
It's
a
a
rough one.
doozy.
There have been better days. There haven't been worse days though. I will say that. There have not been worse days than this. This is about as bad as you can get. But like we said, like even the guys at the bottom of the list, while they wouldn't typically make our list, you're still like solid players in the
Hmm.
grand scheme of things that you probably want to keep an eye on. This will give you an opportunity to do that. But do you have any honorable mentions? I only came up with a few. It was hard to even like get to 10, but I came up with a few guys that are like okay, I guess.
Yeah, I just was able to crank out 10.
Yeah, I was barely able to get to 10, but some of my honorable mentions, Kenny White, UT Martin, hardly played this year. I believe he was hurt or something like that based on his game log, but he's been a solid player. I think he played at Tennessee Tech and Murray State. Um, he's solid, and a lot of these guys are like walk-ons to enter today, so he's actually played basketball and played some good basketball at times. I have Eduardo Andre from Fresno State. Had a bit of a down year this year. I think if he would have taken his production from last year specifically, I think he would have found himself on this list.
Hmm.
But he
He's
he's a
on
he's
mine.
a yeah, I mean I had him at first. He's a big guy, solid rim protector. Again, really kind of fell off this year. Was hurt.
And with
Believe he was
he
hurt,
was with an
but
anemic Fresno team.
yeah,
Pretty
he was hurt at
garbage
the end of
team.
the season, but he was disappointing even before, and just based off his percentages, efficiencies. Um, so yeah, not the best year for him. He did shoot under 40% from the free throw line, which is not good. But yeah, I think there's still hope for him. And then my other honorable mention was Joshua Beadle, a Clemson guard who just he played, but he just didn't. He played a little bit, I guess.
He was
Nothing,
very
nothing.
impactful in his minutes. Great defender.
Yeah, yeah. He had some. He's semi-playable, but he didn't really do much,
Yeah,
hardly.
not very high usage, but I think he could
No.
get into a bigger
Yeah.
role elsewhere.
All right. So I'll start with my number 10. I guess. So I had Alan David Mukeba for Kansas City. He was a junior. I believe he's a big man forward. I didn't watch much Kansas City this year, but he is very impactful. He's pretty solid rim protector, very physical, very good rebounder on both ends. Pretty high usage guy when he was in, but pretty efficient from around the rim. He does foul a lot. That's kind of why he didn't see as many minutes as you would like, but he actually does foul at an alarming rate. But very, very physical, good rim protector. I mean, the entries were kind of low today, but he's someone with very, very good analytics that
Him over Josh Beadle, dude.
yeah, Josh Beadle didn't. I mean, like Josh Beadle, the only reason you would have Josh Beadle on here is because he was on a high major team. Like he didn't do anything to show me that he's been like a good basketball player.
He was a great defender, not just a good defender. He was
Uh,
always put on
if he
their
if he
best
would have been a
player
better defender, he would have got more minutes. Because they had like Joe
because
Girard out
he's a
there.
very limited offensive player. You know,
Yeah,
obviously they'll rather have Chase Hunter out there. You'd rather have Joe Girard out there. But if they had like a really good guard they were going up against, he would get minutes. And there was times where he was definitely that guy, that got minutes, and he got minutes
yeah. I mean, I
a
think he's
good bit
better
during
on
the tourney
defense.
run.
I think he's better on defense and offense, but I
Um,
don't know. Overall, he's fairly
Josh Beadle is an
unimpactful.
honorable mention with this group of players. I think it's kind
Oh,
of
we'll get to who else is
that's
out
just
there.
me.
We'll get we'll
I
get
will McClendon at 10.
okay. I had him at 9. He's
You know, not a good player, but like
yeah,
he
good
played at
defender.
UCLA. He does defend.
He got better offensively this year. Like last year, he was like the one of the worst offensive players ever. It would seem like, but I mean, this season he wasn't like overly
I
efficient, but
think he
like he
shot
just
over 40%
wasn't.
from the field.
Not
Maybe.
quite, not quite. But he wasn't like he did last year. He did shoot 2 for 28 from three. This year he shot
Ooh,
27 of 75. So he can
okay.
make them. He can make
Baby
them now.
steps, baby steps.
Yeah, which is actually like shooting this year is actually pretty good, but can't get much worse. But he did get a lot better. But still, he's not much. He's solid, mid-major probably if he wants to succeed, I would say. But yeah. So I had him at 9. So then you can go on to your.
Yeah, I had Madi Sissoko at 9.
I had him
Um,
at 6.
yeah, just
Yeah,
undersized. He does defend,
he
I
does make up for
guess.
his he does make up for his height
You
with
know,
his
he's
size
physical.
though.
But very
I
limited
think.
offensive player. No, not really good finishing around the rim. Um,
Mhm.
not great at shooting free throws, I would assume.
He actually shot at 70%. Not a guy that shot a ton of
Not
them,
right.
only
Didn't
over
probably
one a
shoot
game. But
many, but
yeah, I had him at 6 because even though like I'm not like gonna say he's a good player or anything, I think like he's relatively a guy that you know what you're gonna get out of him. Like if you take him
mhm.
for a 1 year rental, which is
I just think he's
all you
such a
have
low
left.
ceiling player. Like I think a lot of
Yeah,
these guys above
I
him
think he
can
has a higher
grow.
floor than a lot of these guys. Like
Yeah.
I think his floor is he's gonna get in there for a few minutes, get some rebounds. play some solid defense around the rim. I mean, you can maybe make a dunk here and there, foul a few times, and then like not do much else. Like I think for a team that maybe needs someone like that, that just can play physical for a few minute spurts. I mean, I think he could find himself at a high major still. I think he will be desired by high majors. Depends to see whether he wants to be like a solid piece in a good team, or maybe go down, maybe be like a second or third option on like a mid plus, or not. He wouldn't be that. Yeah, just second or third best player more as in
Yeah,
this option.
it would depend on how deep a certain Power Five's front court is.
Yeah,
He obviously wouldn't be an ideal starting option.
which that's the
Um,
thing. Like he would have been a great backup big, but like we kind of think he sucks just because he was a starter. But that was more
mhm.
of like Tom Izzo. Like you just got no other bigs on the
Yeah, they
roster.
were
Like I think Sissoko would be an amazing backup if that was all he
maybe
was. But he was starting, which I just remember when he was like really good for 2 games at the beginning of last season.
yeah,
Was
the
like really
aircraft
good.
carrier game.
Yeah, and then like against Kentucky and next team, he was also really good. And like was Monty Sissoko good? But nope,
I
that
know,
that
I was
was.
all in on him then, not gonna lie, I
Uh,
was.
I think he can be a very solid pickup. Like you know what you're getting out of him. He's not gonna do too much, but he's gonna impact the game in a way he does. Um, Number 8 though, I have Savion Lewis from Quinnipiac, one of the best passers in the country this year. Um, he averaged like over 7 assists a game, very high assist rate. But besides that, not a super efficient player. Can't really shoot considering he's 6'1", which is not great.
Probably a 7 assists a game because he's playing next to Matt Baylank. And Matt
Yeah,
Baylank would do a lot of the work with those
yes,
assists.
absolutely. But regardless, one of the highest assist rates in the country. I think someone can definitely use him for that. And Quinnipiac had a really good year.
They did.
He definitely facilitated that offense. So yeah, he's really all the experience too. So I think he can be a solid mid-major point guard, and that's what he is.
hmm
Did you have
Um,
him?
no, no. Number 8, I Casey Jones, Eastern
Really? I had him
Washington.
at 4. I think he's a lot
Um,
better than 8.
yeah, I could see that. Again, I think just another one of these really undersized mid-major forwards that
Yeah, but he
maybe he
can
just goes
he
to
can
mid
do a little
plus.
bit more than just be like a. He's not just like a back to basket big. Like he's pretty athletic,
He can play on the
deceivingly can.
perimeter a bit,
Yeah,
correct?
if yeah, I mean, if you look at his headshot, he looks like someone who can't jump at all. But he's just like
No,
a
I've watched him a
white.
couple times over the years. He throws his body around.
Yeah, but if you look at his headshot, he's just like a white guy with like those big
He's got the
glasses
rec
that.
specs, right?
Yes, I'm pretty sure he does. So yeah, you might think he's not that good, but then once I watch his highlights, he does have some athleticism. He can stretch the floor a little. Really good at getting fouled. He's like elite at getting to the free throw line. That's
That's
like
always a
it's
good
like
thing.
crazy how good he is. He was a led the country in free throw rate. But yeah, pretty efficient overall. I think he'd be like a really solid 4 for someone. Maybe not a high major team, but um, actually he can play at Washington State. He's gonna go to Washington State, I
Yeah,
think,
no, that one makes
and he
sense.
can play there. He
They've
can
had
compete, especially in
definitely
WCC. Like if they were
right
in the Pac-12, I think he could still compete, but especially I think he'll be a high-end WCC player,
for sure.
assuming he
Should be solid.
follows. I don't know why he wouldn't.
He'd start there.
Yeah. Yeah. So I'm really in on him. Um, let's see.
Mhm.
So number 7, I had Bayfall. I don't know if he played this year or if he was a redshirt or if he just like uh yeah, he did play a few games. He didn't do anything. Like I'm ranking this strictly based on potential. Um, but he
Well, if
was
you're
like a
ranking him off
highly
potential, you could put him higher.
well, no, if I was ranking him based on what he did, he wouldn't even be on the list.
Eh,
So kind
I think
of
he's better than the people that you've listed before him, just
but he hasn't done
regardless.
anything. Like has he even scored a point? He scored one, two, three, four, five, six,
But I mean, he
seven
was a
points in
five
college.
star. He was a huge
Yeah,
big.
but
Like, his
he,
floor is already pretty high. Like,
well, his floor was 7 points the whole season.
I mean, he wasn't gonna play with Trayvon Brazil and all the
No,
other
but if
bigs.
he was like ready to play, he would have played at least like somewhat consistently.
I don't know. You know how Muss is weird with the small
If
lineups
he
and
was ready to play, he would have though.
freshman bigs, like
No, I mean
coaches are very
Fall was
iffy with
always going to
them,
be a
man.
guy. Fall was always going to be a guy that's like super raw and might take a few
Right.
years.
Like they're project bigs.
But
They're
he
not
was
gonna get
even
a lot of
like,
minutes.
yeah, but he didn't even he played 9 games the whole season.
I mean, again, like it goes back to that whole thing with being a project big, and they're not
Yeah,
always gonna
he is
get
a
a lot of
project.
minutes.
It's
He could
yeah,
be really good
he
next year.
could. He could. I could
Um,
see a world where it happens.
especially in a race
But
situation.
you would have no clue what you're getting out of him
No, but
as of now.
um,
But yeah, I would take him in a high major. I think there's still a lot of potential there for sure. Where'd you have
mhm,
him?
3.
Okay. Um, number 6 where I had Sissoko.
6 is where I had Eduardo Andre. I do remember
Okay.
how good he was 2 years ago.
He was a very good player 2 years ago.
And Fresno was even better that year. Like this year was just abysmal. They couldn't beat anybody.
Yeah.
Um, they beat New Mexico a couple times. I meant that 2 years ago. They were a solid team, and Andre was a really big reason for that. I think
Hmm.
he can get back to what he was. It was just a really
Yeah.
weird year, like just not finishing around the rim. Just
Yeah. I
I
mean,
don't know,
he was
stuff that I
elite.
don't
It was more like
expect from
defensively. Even
Eduardo
defensively, he
Andre.
saw a drop. Like he wasn't as effective of a rebounder. Just like was like
I
kind
think
of
that
worse
coach
all around.
completely lost the locker room like halfway through the year.
Yeah.
Like he should have
Yeah.
been fired like 2, 3 years ago. Like
He had
they
that
did.
good team 2 years ago though, with Orlando Robinson that won the whatever tournament that was, the CBI or it was like a different thing, I think. But
It was like
uh,
some off-brand
yeah,
CBI. I remember he played in some
I know what you're
bootleg
talking about.
arena. The
But yeah,
basketball classic. That
yeah,
was it. Yeah,
that was
yeah,
I
that's
think that
it.
was what it was. But yeah,
TBC.
he had that good year, and then yeah, he was always going to get fired after this year based on how the
Mm.
season was going. But yeah, I think Andre could be a solid piece
Yeah,
somewhere
I
if
think
he
if
gets
Andre
back to that
really
level.
buys into a culture, a coach really gets him to. I think he could play Power Five, quite frankly. You
Yeah, I
get
mean,
him bought into
started out in Nebraska, so
right. You get him bought into a defensive culture. He'll be a great defender again. I just think he lost interest, with how
probably
bad they were. Um,
yeah, potentially. But number 5, I have John Buggs the third. He can shoot the ball. He doesn't give you a ton, but he can really shoot the ball.
I had
Which
him at
of the
7.
guys
My
today,
bad. Yeah. You might
oh,
have
did
skipped a
we?
number. It's
Yeah,
fine.
I might have cut you off there, but yeah. He can really shoot the ball. Doesn't give you much, but of the guys that entered today, you can take someone that'll make a few threes every game, make them at a really high percentage. He's at
I
45% from
like him.
three. Um, that alone will,
Wasn't he a UTSA guy a couple years ago?
yeah, last year. So
He
yeah,
he wasn't even that good of a shooter there, was he?
yeah, he was a shooter. He
Okay.
shot 39% on most of his shots were threes.
Yeah, that's still pretty good. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's elite. He's a
Especially
shooter
with
for
how
college
many
basketball.
he takes. Yeah.
Yeah, so yeah,
45 on high usage.
yes. So who did you have at 5 then?
I had Terrence Williams a second.
Okay, I had him
High
at
major
3.
guy.
He was actually kind of good this year.
He was.
Looking
Yeah.
at his stats, he was definitely a lot better than he was last year. More
Mhm.
efficient, better shooter. Actually shot the ball very well from 3, but
He could be good somewhere.
yeah, I feel like he definitely had a bounce back year considering like everyone like hated him.
Hmm.
Um,
He's an interesting game. Like he
yeah,
defends.
he he was
He
playing good at the end of the year too.
he
Like
just
not
his
Michigan was playing
shooting is
terrible, but
very inconsistent at
yes.
times.
He was a pretty consistent scorer though. Like just like scoring wise across the board. You usually knew what you were going to get out of him every game just looking at the game logs.
Mhm.
And yeah, I mean, he's a high major player, can shoot the ball a little bit, good size. Considering
For
who
sure.
else entered today, I would take him.
Mhm.
So yeah, number 4 is where I had Casey Jones.
Okay. Oh, my phone just shut off. I had Josh Beadle at 4.
Okay, and then Williams at 3.
I had Bay Fall at 3.
So
And our
number
top two is probably the
two, I
same.
have Corey Washington at
Yeah, I have
two.
Corey Washington
Um,
at two.
St. Peter's star. He had a
Really good.
big year, big breakout year. Really, St. Peter's has definitely not been known for their offenses over the past few years, but Washington was like the thing keeping their offense afloat. He's really good offensive weapon.
He anchored St.
Can
Peter's best offensive team quite some time this year, and he was the only
they
reason
were
for that.
outside the top 300 in offense.
Oh, how
Yeah, I
was
guess
that? How was that team offensively when they made the Elite Eight? Man, they might have been freaking worse.
they were a little bit better than that, but they were still.
They were-
Have they ever had a top 200 offense?
I'm
Yeah,
about to say,
last
I
top
don't know.
200 offense was in 2006 under Bob Leckie. That was his last year of coaching. I don't know who that is, but yeah, they haven't had
I'll
any good
say
offenses.
this: they haven't
He's a good
had
offensive player
they haven't
though.
had this big of an offensive star in a while.
Yes. Like their offense, like when they made the run the tournament, like Doug Edert was like their offensive like weapon in a sense, but
Spark plug, yeah.
he wasn't like an offensive star. He was just kind of their I guess they had the guys like Banks and
Matt
Lee, but Edert was like the
Lee.
only efficient offensive guy,
Hmm.
but and like was a positive impact. But Washington, yeah, he's really physical too. Good
Great
length,
defender.
really good rebounder this year. Yeah, obviously St. Peter's built their team on defense, which he does very well.
And he's got good size. Like he should translate to
Yes.
the high major level
Yes,
perfectly.
very good athleticism.
He was
Um,
getting some Arkansas interest too before Moss left. So be interested to see.
he might be from Arkansas. Let me fact check that.
Yeah, I do
Yeah,
remember.
he is from Arkansas.
Okay.
His Ken Palm profile says he's from Sherwood, Arizona, but he's actually from Sherwood, Arkansas. Um,
You know,
so
right?
I
That
knew
he's
he was
gonna
from Arkansas.
now that I think
Arkansas. He's gonna go to Arkansas, right? I mean, especially if Chris Beard goes there, because Chris Beard took his St. Peter's transfer last year and it actually worked out.
it's true. Brian Hodgson will have something to say though.
If Beard or whoever else at Arkansas wants him, they're gonna get him.
That's true. I about to say
Um,
Chris Beard took Juju Murray, and that went
and he
really
was way
freaking
better than he
well
was
for
at
him.
St. Peter's,
I know, it was crazy.
which was
No one saw that coming.
insane. He was yeah, he actually got
Juju
so
Murray
much.
kept them afloat early on. Like they would have lost to Detroit Mercy if
Yeah,
he didn't
that
play.
was when I knew that team was not good at all. When they almost lost to Detroit Mercy, like I don't care if
That
you're
Sam
beating.
Houston State game too. But then they ended up actually being pretty good.
Yeah,
So that
Detroit
caught me.
Mercy did not. They won like
We
one
both had
game on
like
the
Sam Houston
season.
State being decently bad, and then they ended up winning a
I was higher on them
conference.
than you though. You had them like
Yeah.
terrible.
No, I did.
I thought they were gonna be okay.
And they
But
ended up
yeah,
winning the damn conference.
number one, I'm pretty sure unless you did something really weird, we both have Khalif Battle.
Of course.
He was
Like
really good down the stretch. Like
he is his
he was
games,
scoring
man.
let's see how many points he scored down the stretch. 20, 24, 22, 29, 34, 36, 42, 15, 18. Those are games were all in a row. There were some weird times he was like not even playing, but he was playing his best basketball down the stretch. Is and
I
I
still
think
think he
he
can be really special with Moss, man. They were just
yeah, I
starting
mean,
to.
I think he kind of I don't know if he follows USC, but I think it's definitely on the table considering
I
um
wasn't thinking so at first because, of all the weird DNPs he got early in the season.
yeah, and he entered the
But
portal like right when
but then
Muss left.
again,
So
I
this was
think
obviously
towards
a
the end of the season, I
coaching
think
portal
he
change.
got on Muss's good side
Well, I mean, he was
potentially.
like one of the best players in the country if you just take like his last like
Right.
10 games.
Exactly. And we've always known
He was
Khalif
getting to the
Battle
line a
could
ton, which is
we've
kind
al-
of what happened.
we've always known Khalif Battle can be that kind of player when he's
Yeah.
taking good shots and smart shots.
And he was getting to the line so much. Like
Hmm.
that was what really helped me. He was just drawing contact,
Yeah.
really
Yeah.
forcing
He's
his
not
way in
afraid
there.
to get physical and to get
No, and
downhill.
I
He's never
mean,
been able to.
he shot like a ton of free throws, which really helped. He was making his
Hmm.
free throws. Very good free throw shooter, which definitely
Always has
helps.
been.
Definitely
80% always.
helps. Yes, over like 87% this year on
Dang.
high volume. So yeah, he's a guy that can be like a guy. Like he is a difference maker. Obviously there are some concerns with him. He like went on Temple's team last year. He's never been like a guy that's thought of as like a huge locker room bonus. Can be really efficient, inefficient, can shoot you out of games at times, but just based on what I saw the last like month of the season, I would take him anywhere.
Yeah, I'm starting to think that Mark Temple situation more so had to do with Aaron McKee
That
just losing
Temple
the
team was
locker
also
room.
so weird. Like they had so many guys
Um,
transfer up and they were still so bad. Like let's see who was on that
Aaron
team.
McKee literally bought in Damian Dunn and
Yeah, they
Khalif
had
Battle
they had
off the
done
bench
yeah.
for
They
like
had
two
done
minutes to start
Battle.
every game.
They had like Jamil Reynolds, Zach Hicks, Nick Jourdain. They had some like guys like
Imagine if Adam Fisher coached that team. Me and this Temple page talked about that. They would have easily made the tournament.
man, maybe man, easily is a stretch. But Adam
Because
Fisher had
Houston's
them
in
playing
the,
good at the right time.
I don't know,
So
he's cooking.
maybe some momentum.
Lynn Greer and Jamil Brown, I think will be in Temple colors shortly.
Maybe. Brown definitely makes sense. Greer obviously does because of the connections, but actually, I want to say, did he cut his list down or was that
What?
Hyzier Miller? One of those guys. I
Greer
kind of
hasn't posted anything, at least on his Instagram. Heiser Miller's got all this Power Five interest, like big time Power Five interest, which just surprised me. Like I kind of like him, but like not really.
okay.
But I saw some
Okay, so
list.
yeah, he was down to four schools. He was down to Hyzier Miller, that is, to Seton Hall, Virginia, Virginia Tech, and Providence.
All right, you know what? Okay, I could see those four schools maybe for him.
Yeah, those are just like whatever.
I could see it just Seton Hall. Not gonna lie.
Yeah, I mean they don't have money, and even though they won, did you watch any of that game today? The NIT
No, I
final?
wish I did,
I
man.
didn't.
It
I was
was
on the road.
insane.
I would have watched it, but I was
There was all
driving.
these back
So
and forths. Indiana State was up 8 with 2 minutes left and
both of those
choked.
teams should have made the tournament.
I know.
Like those were the two teams that, if you asked me on Selection Sunday, like what two teams probably
Like
should have
I
made a tournament
didn't
that you're
want to
mad about?
watch Seton Hall in the
They
tournament,
deserved
but
it though. They went
at the
13
same
7 in the
time,
Big East, and it's a
they
round robin
deserved it.
league,
They
double round
deserved it.
robin league. Yes, they absolutely
Um,
deserved it.
they had amazing wins too. I love
Yeah.
Shaheen. Uh, he's just
Yes.
everything you
Yes.
want in a coach. Yeah, it
Imagine if
was
he actually had
heartbreaking for
money.
them to. I
If
know.
he actually had money, he could recruit, but he doesn't.
Oh, if he
So,
actually had money, I think he'd be a top 10 coach, but we'll get to that in another discussion. That's he's just terrific given the resources he has, that he's able to do that with the talent he has. Even though they were an old team, still. Um, he's doing everything he can over there, for sure.
yes.
And I
So
wish
yeah,
Indiana State got more quad one opportunities.
yeah,
The
they were
fact
they
that they
were
only got five of them, and I even posted something about this the other day. Like the Indiana schools are fucking trying to dodge smoke all year. Indiana made sure not to schedule them. Butler made sure not to schedule them.
yeah.
I mean, nah, they definitely could have had some quad one opportunities if some Power Fives weren't afraid to schedule them.
Yeah. But yeah, anything else to say? Not a very exciting portal day, but
No,
not at all. We got all the
that's
we
all right.
touched on the good commitments that actually happened this morning in our previous episode because that's when
Something
we
tells me
recorded that.
something's gonna
But
boil over next week. There's gonna be some huge news
I'm
things
sure.
next week.
I'm sure. I'm
With
sure.
these whole Arkansas situation, USC commits
Yes.
are gonna start to come rolling in, I
No,
think soon.
USC is going to be a school that reached out to everyone now.
Yeah, exactly.
It's
We
fun
gotta get used
times.
to it.
Yep. But yeah, that's I think that's about it. Make sure to follow our social media accounts at Hoopscoop Media, Instagram, Twitter. We post a lot of content about the portal there, and I think you guys would probably like to see more of that stuff besides just the podcast. Make sure to follow Kyle at Mid Major Basketball on Instagram as well. If you're listening to this podcast on the podcast platforms like Apple Podcasts or Spotify, make sure to give us 5 stars there. That would be greatly appreciated. Leaving a review would also be greatly appreciated. If you're watching this on YouTube, which is an option for those who might not know that are only listening to the podcast platforms, make sure to subscribe there. If you aren't watching on YouTube, you could also subscribe there to be notified, see our faces if you have just time to sit down and watch it. That would probably be a better experience, but definitely still recommend those who are listening on the podcast, definitely still encourage that to happen. So yeah, and any last words before we close out on what was a pretty underwhelming day of entries, but some pretty solid discussions that we had.
And we got the Final Four this weekend, so.
Yes. Yeah, we'll probably still have an episode tomorrow, pending what commitments and
And
entries
the
happen.
thing about the Final Four is what a lot of people don't know is this is when a lot of coaches get together. All
Oh
coaches
yeah, all the
basically.
coaches go to the
The
Final
Final
Four.
Four is a huge conference,
All the
all
coaches are
week.
going to be there.
Um, so there's gonna be some whispering going on, some stuff that, there's
Oh
definitely
yeah,
stuff going down that's not gonna get reported. So
yes,
there's definitely the stove is definitely boiling. And I think by next week we'll really have some stuff come out.
yes. The women's Final Four is tomorrow. Are you going to be watching that?
I might. I might. I don't.
Yeah,
I like women's ball, honestly.
yeah. It's
Women's college
definitely
ball is way better than women's NBA ball. Let's put it that way.
yes. I would tend to agree with that. Caitlin Clark is so fun to watch. Like
She is.
it's
I watched
crazy.
a couple of games of hers over the year. I haven't caught one of hers in a little while this
I
year, but I
watched I
have to.
watched Iowa LSU game the other
No,
day. I was cheering pretty hard for Iowa, but
of course, same. I mean, who wouldn't it be?
did you
Even
see
though
Haley Van Lith enter the portal today?
I know.
That's probably the
Getting back
biggest portal
back to
entry of the day.
Louisville.
That's probably the biggest portal entry of the
No,
day.
it
It's bigger than
is.
like Khalif Battle or like Corey Washington. Like
It's true.
it's a good pickup. But I should just put her at one just for fun. But
Sure.
wish I
And
would
the
have thought
right
about
and the
that.
right fit.
Yeah, she's probably a better men's basketball player than some of these guys do. But yeah, that's for another day. Um, yeah, and anything else?
That's it.
Yep. So yeah, thanks for listening. We will probably be back tomorrow for another episode of Portal Bonanza. Thank you for tuning in.